Good morning. I'm Kim Ogg, Harris County District Attorney, and I am joined by Harris County's top cops, the sheriff, the police chief, every constable's office in Harris County represented here, Baytown PD, in a push to save a life a day. We've seen an unprecedented number of bicycle and pedestrian deaths, 30 in Harris County just since October. This is unacceptable, and law enforcement has joined together in both an awareness and enforcement campaign to stop roadway deaths. We've got a combination of old laws and new laws to rely upon, and what you will see is a real effort by law enforcement to ensure that traffic laws are being enforced at the crosswalks and on the roadway. It's important that pedestrians and bicyclists have the opportunity to share our roadways, and new laws provide pedestrians where there's no sidewalk available to walk now on the roadway against traffic. This means greater responsibility for our drivers. We know that Houston is car-centric, and we know that we don't have sidewalks in all of our unincorporated areas or even in the city of Houston. And so it is important that, especially during this holiday season, we work together to ensure each other's safety. You know, the top factors contributing to traffic crashes in Harris County, 36% of which are pedestrian bicyclist fatalities or injuries. They're due to cars and drivers failing to yield right-of-way to each other, driver inattention, driver speeding. You know, we just can't afford to be on our phones when it could cost somebody their life. So during this season, we're asking for everybody to pull together, and I want to personally thank every member of law enforcement here today for the risk they take in protecting us. You know, many of our deaths of police officers, several in the last 3 years, have been the result of vehicular crashes into them or their cars. And so there's something that we can all do, and that is look after each other. I'm joined today by Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, who will speak next. He'll be followed by the police chief, Troy Finner, and also by, where's my DPS sergeant? Sergeant Burse, DPS. And finally, you'll hear from somebody who has suffered the greatest loss possible. And Cody Eberhardt will be here to talk about the loss of his mother, what it's meant to their family, and what we can do to save a life a day. Sheriff?
Thank you, District Attorney Ogg, for your leadership and for convening us here this morning. This is a very critical issue in our community, and I'm proud to be here on behalf of the Harris County Sheriff's Office and also joining all our partners from law enforcement from across the region to continue to raise awareness about this important issue and to make sure that we all continue to step up our efforts to make a positive impact. I'm Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, and pedestrian-related traffic crashes continue to be a serious concern across our community. As we strive to create safer streets for everyone, the Harris County Sheriff's Office urges all residents to prioritize pedestrian, motorcyclist, and cycling safety. This year to date, our Vehicular Crimes Unit has investigated 57 auto versus pedestrian collisions that have resulted in a total of 60 pedestrian deaths. Last year, our investigators worked on 53 auto versus pedestrian collisions that resulted in 53 pedestrian deaths. And in 2021, our investigators worked 46 auto versus pedestrian collisions, resulting in 48 pedestrian deaths. The number of auto pedestrian fatalities keep increasing year after year. This is a major concern for us. All of our deputies will be on the lookout and paying close attention to motorists at intersections and crosswalks. And we're going to make sure that we continue to inform our community about existing laws, those that are more newer laws that have come into effect in the last coming years, and then also to continue to assess our data to see how we could better enforce and really go out there and make sure that we're sending a strong message either through prevention, sharing information, being out there, being proactive, and then enforcement as well. Because we really need to make a difference on this issue. We're seeing far too many collisions of all types. Just this morning, our team is out investigating another fatal collision. And so we're really going to have to do a better job on this. When I was on Houston City Council, this was an area that I was focusing on, really making sure that we were advocating for complete streets, the built infrastructure to make it better for all users of the roadway. Myself and Chief Bradford were on City Council, and we worked very hard on that. We also passed a safe passing ordinance as well to make sure we were protecting cyclists that were on the roadways, because sometimes aggressive drivers push up right against people that may be walking or cycling, honk, and we have many aggressive drivers out in our community. It's very dangerous to be on the roadways these days. And so we've got to make sure that we continue with those efforts. Out in unincorporated Harris County, we also have a serious challenge with poor infrastructure. There's a lot of areas that do not have sidewalks, that infrastructure hasn't built out. We have a lot of desolate roadways, a lot of still rural type of neighborhoods out in unincorporated Harris County. And so we've got to be paying close attention. But we also want to make sure we're encouraging everyone, that pedestrians, as DA Ogg said, that are walking against traffic, using the left side, and making sure that at least they could put eyes on a vehicle. So if vehicles starting to move away from the roadway, that they could at least take some type of action and avoid being in front of that vehicle. But we also need to make sure that motorists as well are not driving intoxicated or not driving distracted. You could look down at your phone and it might take you off the roadway. And look, there's a lot of folks that utilize the sidewalks or utilize different modes of transportation. Some depend on a bicycle, for example, to have to travel to work. It's not always just leisure, it's a necessity for them. Sometimes you may have an older adult that needs to walk to the store, and maybe there's not a sidewalk available. Sometimes in some communities, there's stray animals around that may not permit people to safely walk and use certain sidewalks, so they have to edge a little bit onto the roadway, not by choice. So there's a lot of different factors. So as drivers, we too need to make sure that we're paying close attention, not listening to our music really loud and not paying close attention, or we're distracted with kids or others in our vehicles, as well as, again, those that are walking, maybe not using the AirPods and other things that may keep you from really being aware of your surroundings. So we're going to make sure that we're raising awareness, and we're also going to be seeing how we could better enforce the new laws that are now in the books. Briefly in Spanish, quiero mencionar que todos estamos dando prioridad a mejor protección para las personas que tienen que utilizar las carreteras y muchas personas que tienen que caminar en las carreteras. Hemos visto un aumento los últimos años en más accidentes automovilísticos involucrando peatones. Muchas personas han perdido su vida y lamentable muchas veces en nuestra propia comunidad de habla hispana, nuestra gente tiene que utilizar bicicletas o tienen que caminar a sus trabajos o al mercado, y entonces es muy peligroso cuando la gente no está poniendo atención. Queremos que las personas que están caminando, si no hay banqueta disponible, primeramente usen las carreteras. Segunda, tienen que cruzar en la vía donde hay una luz, un semáforo donde pueden cruzar en una manera segura. Y si no hay banqueta, por lo menos que caminen a contra del tráfico para que puedan poner ojo en el vehículo, porque muchas veces los conductores están distraídos o no están poniendo atención y por lo menos uno puede ver. Muchas veces tratamos de caminar en el mismo camino que van los carros y eso damos nuestra espalda y no podemos ver si un carro se nos está acercando. Entonces queremos dar más atención a las leyes que están ya fijas, que son leyes que han estado por muchos años, y también estas nuevas leyes que apenas comenzaron estos últimos años. Entonces queremos agradecer a la Fiscalía Ogg por su liderazgo y por unirnos hoy esta mañana, y también todos los líderes de las diferentes agencias policíacas, porque todos vamos a hacer nuestro esfuerzo para proteger nuestras carreteras. Gracias. Thank you.
All right. So I asked Ed to translate for us in Spanish. So thank you, man, my friend. So look, I'm proud to be here, and you look around law enforcement throughout our region, and the message is we're locked down together, and then we're going to do something about to decrease the pedestrian deaths in the city of Houston. There's been over 90 year to date. That's a problem, but it's a two-way street. I won't go over everything because Ed has hit on Sheriff Gonzalez, I meant to say, has hit on a lot of the points, but the main thing it's a two-way street, pedestrians and drivers. Pedestrians, one thing I want to communicate, please do not assume that because you have a green walking light or you're in a walkway that everything is safe. Try to make eye contact with the driver. Make sure people drinking, they're influenced on other drugs sometimes, and sometimes it's just on a cell phone not paying attention. So please be safe. But the message is that we're going to be together, working together to educate, but also enforce and hold people accountable, both pedestrians and drivers, to make these numbers go down. It's just not acceptable. And the holiday season is here. People are going to be out shopping and having a good time. Make sure that you're safe. Cody's going to come up in a little bit after DPS, but that's a real life story. You know, we're not up here just talking. There are deaths, and we all need to do something about it. And again, I'm so proud whenever I can stand with all of our partners. And DAR and Chief Bradford, thank y'all for setting this up. It was the right thing to do at the right time. So you'll continuously see all of us working together. A lot of times in the media and a lot of people are asking, well, how are y'all working together? We work together every day, but it's always good when you see this force. And I'm so proud in this region of what everybody does every day. So please be safe and do your part. Drivers, pedestrians, and also cyclists. Some of the same things, the same concepts goes for them. So thank y'all. Thank you very much.
Sergeant.
Thank you.
Good morning. Before you started, I'd like to thank District Attorney Ogg for hosting this event and bringing awareness to pedestrian safety, bicycle safety, and the new laws that come about. From a statewide perspective, we've had over 5,000 crashes in the state this year that involve pedestrians. We've had almost 2,400 that involve bicyclists. Unfortunately, 800 lost their life. When we go to a crash scene, we ask, what happened? I didn't see him. What happened? They came out of nowhere. What happened? I wasn't paying attention. We leave those scenes and we're tore up inside. And if you think we're not, you don't truly know us, because we leave saying that was preventable. That didn't have to happen. Why? Christmas holidays, we want to go see loved ones. We go travel. We want to do it safely. It's going to be a lot of people on the roadway. We've got to pay attention. The sheriff and the chief said it best. We got to pay attention to what we're doing on the roadways. We cannot assume. We can't. Drivers, raise your eye level up past your hood. Scan the eyes while you're driving. Pedestrians, don't assume that they're going to stop for you or that they see you, because they might not. Don't wear dark clothing at night when you're walking. Have something illuminated with you. If it's your phone, if you don't have a flashlight. If you're on a bicycle, have some type of illumination device. You need to have a light on the front and the back. Have a vest. Do what you can. We can't do this alone. It takes all of us. It's not just a law enforcement, first responder thing. It is a community thing. We all have a part to play in this. Our last deathless day, does anybody know? November the 7th, 2000. That was the last time we had a deathless day on the state of Texas. I don't see why we can't have one this month. Why? We strive to be perfect. That's what we try to do. We're not going to do it every day. We're not going to make it every day. But if we hit that day sometime this month, guess what? Texas was perfect. We were perfect that day. Nobody can take that away from us. We don't have to have these tragedies when we can take care of them ourselves. Thank you. Be safe, Texas.
That was eloquent. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Cody Eberhardt. He has suffered a loss personally of his mother, and we appreciate his courage in coming to tell his story to Houstonians.
First and foremost, I want to thank you to District Attorney Ogg and her staff. I was reached out 2 weeks ago by one of her staff members asking if I could come speak on my mom's behalf and Craig Tippett, that both passed away the same day. This particular incident was a cyclist auto crash that happened March 25th of 2017. We all take into consideration the multiple factors that happen on a day-to-day basis, and what each day can bring and how fast it can go. And I think it's really a true meaning of tomorrow is never promised. And going back to the day, I sat in my office this morning and I just relived the day. I mean, I sat there this morning having to review the notes to come speak to everybody today, and I just said, look, it's never easy. I mean, we're 6 years from the time of her death, and it gets harder, as I sit here and I think about my 2-year-old son that cannot see his grandmother and has to walk down a hall and look at her picture and blow her a kiss, and that never gets easier from a victim standpoint. And this goes for all victims. This is not just my family or the Tippett family. This is all victims that are related, and I know there's many. I follow a lot of pages that result in cyclists crashes, pedestrians being hit, and just try to help where we can and console the families that are currently grieving. And as it never gets easier, it's my duty on behalf of my mother to come in front of a lot of people as they request and talk about it and understand that we have to work together from all ends, no matter what county, no matter what jurisdiction you're in. I'm here, and I think it's very important, and I love what Harris County is doing currently and implementing new measures. And after speaking with a couple individuals in regards, it just really brought a lot of life to me, and I'm very proud to be up here on my mother's behalf. One thing about healing is, they say time heals, and it can, and absolutely it can. But what really brings comforting and healing is implementing new policies, new laws that can help reduce the tragic times that have been brought upon many of us here and that have continued to put a lot of hurt into families that should not have the hurt that they have and to where they're going. And I relive back to the day of March 25th of 2017, and it's a day that will forever not only change my life, but it would change all law enforcement's life, all the first responders that had to go, the Texas Rangers that had to show up to this scene. And it's one of those things that we all don't come to realize, that it's not just the families. These law enforcement officers have to go back to their families, and as much as they don't want to talk about work, they grieve just as much as we do. Having to get a phone call or having to get that knock on your door is not something that we want to see or have happen. Nobody wants that. But it's a day that took a place of my heart and the Tippett family, and I want to kind of go over. My mom was cycling along Craig Tippett, and they were training for the BP MS 150. It was 2 months before the big ride in Austin, and there was 100 cyclists, and all it took was one driver that crossed the center line, and he struck my mother and killed her on impact. About 20 seconds later, he came back across the line and struck Craig Tippett, and ultimately they were deceased on scene. And I got that phone call, and it's a phone call I'll never forget. But what I do know is that there was two families. Even though we mourned together, we had a lot of loss. We were all at loss. The two families came together. And not only did the families come together, I was able to meet many first responders that were there that day across, honestly, the state of Texas, and it brought a whole nother meaning of family that helped us with our loss and our tragic loss. We are not the only family that has lost a family member to these actions. There are many people that mourn and grieve over the tragic loss of a loved one, either while cycling or just walking down the roadway. It's all of our jobs to come together. And when I say all of our jobs, from not just the victims, not just law enforcement, but everybody around us, to ensure that we are working together to continue to provide safer streets, to provide safer lanes and to ensure that we are putting out the right laws in order to maintain the safety of all these pedestrians. If we can push each day just to save one life, we've done our job, and we'll continue to work to get to 2. It's just one simple motive that we get together, we come here, and we push hard. And the only way that we'll stop pushing is if that number reaches 0. And then we won't stop. It's with my honor that I'm actually standing up here on behalf of my mother again. And I want to close my speech with a passage I read this morning before coming here today. We often wish we could escape troubles, the pain of grief, loss, sorrow, and failure, or even the small daily frustrations that constantly wear us down. God promises to be our source of power, courage, and wisdom, helping us through our problems. Sometimes He chooses to deliver us from those problems. When trouble strikes, don't get frustrated with God. Instead, humbly admit that you need God's help and thank Him for being by your side. Thank you for allowing me to come speak today on behalf of the many victims and on behalf of my family and Craig Tippett's family. Thank you.
I just want to thank Cody Eberhardt. I want you to know we all care about your mother, your family's loss. We care about these first responders. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the prosecutors who take up the cases that these first responders have to deal with. And our prosecutors go out to the scene, but would you all please raise your hand, those of you who are come up here with me. Our vehicular crimes group goes out to the scene to meet law enforcement when it's suspected that a drunk driver or that a reckless driver has seriously harmed or killed an individual. And the trauma that Sergeant Burst talked about is real. And our prosecutors go through that. Great ideas like making it a state jail felony to cause injury or death to somebody in a crosswalk. We owe our legislature a bill of thanks for that because that's been long needed. Years ago when I prosecuted, if you hit and ran and you got away with it for 3 years, there was a statute of limitation. You were clear. Legislature fixed that too. When we come together and work toward a joint solution, just like Cody asked us, we can save lives. And the idea for this press conference and for this push came out of our Vehicular Crimes Prosecutors Unit. I want to thank Lauren Bard. I want to thank Warren DeProm, who started our unit, for bringing us a fresh idea about how to save lives. And it's really the old way. We stand together, law enforcement enforces, and hopefully community, you listened. On behalf of all the crime victims, our prosecutors, and all of Harris County law enforcement, from Sheriff Gonzalez to Chief Finner to everybody, every constable's office, Baytown PD. I saw Paul here, Tomball ISD, Aldine ISD. Remember, kids ride their bikes to school. Kids ride their bikes on streets. Sometimes they use crosswalks, sometimes they don't. Please keep your eyes and ears open. We thank you. We care about you, Houston. Be safe. Yes, please.
Buenos días, me llamo Rubén Pérez, soy jefe de la División de los Crímenes Especiales, trabajo por la Fiscalía de KMAG. KMAG es la fiscal del condado de Harris. De parte de KMAG, le quiero dar gracias a todas las agencias que están aquí. El mensaje y el enfoque de este mensaje que tenemos que trabajar todos juntos para proteger la comunidad. Los conductores tienen que poner atención, los poliotas tienen que también poner atención, los cicletas tienen que poner también atención. Por favor, estamos en una época ahorita es de Navidad, hay mucho tráfico, hay mucho gente que andan comprando mercancía. Tengan cuidado. El trabajo de nosotros como fiscales el enfoque de nosotros es de proteger a la comunidad. Un conductor, si haces algo y lastimas a un piloto, puede ser que vamos a poner descargos y las leyes ahora están que podemos mandar a gente a la penitencia por no poner atención y lastimar a alguien. De parte de KEMAC, les quiero dar gracias a todo el mundo. Por favor, escúchelos, tengan cuidado y que Dios los bendiga. Gracias.